What is truth, and how do we find truth in a world of deception? Are there biblical truths about our world and our lives that we can trust? And who are the key players in the end times? What does the Bible say about the Middle East, Iran, China, and Russia? And is there proof for what Scripture says? What do recent archaeological exploration tell us about the Bible? Who were the Anunnaki? What are angels, demons, and the Nephilims? Will the Nephilims return? Are there interdimensional beings, and how do they relate to the Bible? Stick around as we dive into Scripture for more answers in this episode of Mission Truth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another mission of Mission Truth here in the remote area of the Appalachian foothills where no one can find us.
Yeah.
I am your host, Trevor, along with my partner in crime, Nick. And as usual, we are having a statement that we're going to put into our truth meter by the end of the show. And you're going to have to help me remember the statement that we're going to I guess, theorize on or discuss. It's basically, you said humanity
is at its core basically good.
Is at its core basically
fundamentally good.
Good. Now, this is a little bit of a departure from some of the other shows that we have done. This is more of a discussion topic, but it's something that has been kind of annoying me lately. And I kind of want to hash it out here.
That's how we pick our shows.
That's how we pick our shows, things that annoy us. No. It's something that I actually feel like really needs to be talked about more, in the fact that when we look at, I guess, humanity as a whole, or as society as a whole, when you see anyone on the street or any interview with someone, one of the questions they inevitably get asked is, how are you going to get to heaven? They say, well, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And my question to them is, how do you define that good? Where do you get that
and I think it goes even beyond that, because it seems to be this underlying belief within at least secular culture that somehow humanity is progressing and becoming better. And, and is that really true, or is that just something we really like to think about ourselves? Are we really getting better? Are we becoming more good? Or are we just reframing what good is and then sort of redefining it and then applying, our modern culture to that?
And who defines it?
Yeah.
And so where does that come from? And I mean, in your experience, those people that you've run into, where do they measure their level of goodness from?
Well, I think in large part, most people, it's a combination between their own, what you would call conscience, I guess, and maybe a broad understanding of what is common within the culture that they live in.
The societal norms.
Right. So and it may be, maybe, I'm not sure which one, if the societal norms weigh in on the personal conscience more, or if the personal conscience is sort of primary, and then it gets attached to the cultural norms to sort of build a worldview and an understanding of what is right and wrong. I think, not to jump directly into the Bible, but I think the Bible talks about men doing what was right in their own eyes. So for me, I think maybe the center of it really comes more from what makes us feel the best about ourselves. And then we attach it to the broader culture to give it to like some legitimacy, I guess, so that, well, hey, I believe pretty much the same thing everybody believes about a certain topic, whether it's good or evil. And we don't really have an outside foundation for it. And that's how we end up in these cultural spats and wars about, well, is this good or evil? And we know what some of those topics are. And we really don't have a foundational reference outside of ourselves to really make that conclusion.
Correct. Because if you go outside of yourself, what are you looking at to actually get that baseline good? Are you looking at the laws of the state? is putting into play? I mean, are we talking about a capitalist society? Are we talking about a communist society, a socialist society? Are we talking about these particular areas in which, okay, if I'm going to measure myself on how good I am, I follow all these laws, and that's why I'm going to measure my goodness from, because of what another man tells me I need to do in order to be a part of society. Yeah,
I mean, let's take this to the extreme. I was listening to an interview with a lady who had escaped North Korea several years ago and come to the she may have went to Britain first and then came to the United States. But she was doing an interview and it was talking about some of the things that they would get arrested for, such as not having a picture of the dear leader in each room of their house, having dust on it. And you look at that and I said, well, what moral, like, where does that moral compass come from? Where does it come that you're allowed to take the life of somebody and their family because they have somehow denigrated your likeness? And I know that's really over the top, but that gets to the point that we have a real problem with defining what good is when we go by the leaders or by our own definition. So
if man is the one that's defining good, what man defines the good for the world?
Right.
And so, people like, well, it's different for each part of the world. And we look at, say, Far Eastern type of setups, like we were talking before. You have Buddhism, you have Hinduism, you have Taoism. I know in Hinduism in particular, depending on how well you are in this life determines what you were reincarnated as. So their religion, Buddhism, is basically why they want to be good, because they want to be reincarnated. But that leads to another point. Are they being good because they feel fearful of being bad?
Well, that would be something that's leveraged against Christianity a lot, right? Is that people are good because they fear retribution from God for being bad. So I think that's, when you deal with religion, that's sort of the universal thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you get that in Islam, you get it in Christianity, you get it in Buddhism, you get it in Hinduism. Maybe Buddhism a little less, because the whole point of Buddhism is you're trying to eliminate suffering, which is, but it's sort of, it came out of Hinduism.
Yeah.
And those are kind of the main top tier religions, and a lot of the others are either very small or fall out of those. But all religions are trying to, in one way or another, make a framework for well, I guess really morality. I mean, what we're really talking about is do we believe there's such a thing as a variable morality? I'm losing the term right now.
A morality based outside of religion.
Subjective morality as opposed to objective morality.
Yes.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So if you look at a secular type of community.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and one of the things that's very fascinating to me when we look at say the goodness of humanity, there is really, when we look at all the religions in the world, there is really only one religion that can work inside of capitalism.
Yeah.
And then when you look at a communist country, most of your communist countries are atheistic. Yeah. Because religion cannot work in a communist country, because they want the state to be the end all and be all. And they're the ones that determine what's good and what's not good for the state, not for your personal
You might get some pushback on that to a degree, because there are movements out there within socialist / communist thought that would actually take the stance that Jesus promoted a communist environment.
Yeah.
The best way I've ever heard it is explained is that the and I don't want to turn this into a communism versus capitalism show. We can do that. But the best way that I've heard it is explained is that the way Christians operate is more communistic at the local level and more capitalistic at the national level. In other words, you can be somewhat communal with people that you know and trust, because ideally you're close enough to those people that, number one, they care more about you and they're less likely to step outside of it and try to take advantage. Because that's the principal problem with communism, is inevitably you end up with somebody who's in power that is no longer looking out for the well-being of those below. That's why we end up with situations.
Well, and I think that's the key point.
Like you end up with
so
Russia,
when you talk about the communal part
of,
of Christianity, there's no one in power.
Yeah.
It's just a community where you're helping others.
Yeah.
So
but I don't think governments as a whole can effectively run under that, because capitalism takes the worst inclination of humanity and uses it, which is self-centeredness,
yes,
and uses it to the advantage of the entire group. Now we're in a, and again, I don't want to go here all the time, but we're in a situation now where we're on the other side of that, where now I think we're starting to see some of the negative things of capitalism.
Well,
to a degree. It doesn't mean we should get rid of it. I just think we need to rethink the goodness of what we're doing.
The only way capitalism can actually work is if it's based in Christianity.
Yeah.
That's the only way capitalism works.
So let's drive this thing back to being good, because that's a part of the discussion.
That's a part of the discussion.
So what does it mean to be good?
And that's a good question.
Is it really a good question?
Is it really a good question? So if take a step back. I don't mean to get away from the microphone.
Yeah.
I got too far away from the microphone there. So you take a step back and you look at, okay, if I am defining good for myself, what is good? How do I define that for myself? If I take all of my internal factors away, my spirituality away, my Christianity away, all that, how do I as a person define that as good? Well, then I'm going to look at, what are my examples? What do I have to look at? What does society say? What are my parents like? What are my friends like? What is the people that I are around me in my life? That's what I'm going to measure what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
There's a problem with that, because that means in a secular society, if that's the way you're measuring how good you are, well, what if you're raised in a group of criminals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, honor among thieves, right?
Honor among thieves.
Yeah.
What if the people that you're around are,
mob.
the mob? I was going to say, the scam callers.
Well, the reason I say the mob is because they famously had their own code of conduct that they actually lived by.
Yeah, that's true.
And it wasn't, a code of conduct that most people lived by, but there were parts of it that you might look at and say, well, that kind of makes sense. Like, you don't kill certain people. Yeah. The idea of war, for instance, the idea that war there's things you do and don't do in war is kind of funny if you're not attached to a moral center. Because
the most fascinating thing, I'm actually going to pull from the Bible here. The most fascinating thing about war is we always talk about there's a winning side and a losing side in war. There was a time when Joshua was going into the land of Canaan, and before they attacked Jericho, he was approached by basically the commander of the Lord's army.
Yeah.
And Joshua says to him, "Are you here for me, or are you on my side?" He says, "I'm on nobody's side."
Yeah.
So that straight out of the Bible basically says, God's not on any side of war. Okay. He actually probably despises war. And of course, there's whole nother discussion on that we can get into at another time. And the only thing that I can see with war throughout history, there's nothing good about it, but it has transformed the landscape of the area at that time. Who was in power? Everything comes down to power and money when it comes to war.
And I think,
and not what's good and bad. Now, granted, you have people that say, well, the United States there's been no other country that has used their military forces for more good than any other country in history. By whose definition?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that they haven't done good things.
So if you ask the question to a person on the street, what is good, what do you think their answer would be?
That's
How do you know if something is good? What would be the non-religious answer?
when it doesn't hurt anybody.
Okay, it doesn't hurt anybody. That kind of makes sense. I was thinking what is most beneficial for the most people. What can I do that is, so you've got the free part of it, which is what you're talking about, the freedom part where I can do what I want to do as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. Those are the things that you can do for yourself. What should we do for other people? We should do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The fundamental problem with that point of view is the greatest good for who?
Right.
Because if you're doing good for one set of group at the expense of another, then is that good or bad?
Yes.
So do you think so? So I think that brings us back to the biblical idea of good, which is that good is done for the sake of another. It's not for the sake of one group or another, and it's certainly not for the sake of my own feelings of how good I am or how not. It's what is best for this person that's in front of me, that I'm dealing with or I'm interacting with at that point in time.
So you know what you just described?
What?
The definition of love.
Right. So good is based off of love.
Right. So, and the definition of love is putting one's needs in front of your own. It's an action. It's not a feeling. So if we were to define without bringing the Bible into it, you'd have to say, well, the only way I can measure good is out of love.
Yeah. Which is selfless.
How do you do that in a society? Any society? Is there any society that is selfless?
No, I don't think we see that. I think we see at times we see selfless acts, but nobody lives a life that is completely selfless. I don't think. I mean, I think if we were to be able to see out into the audience and to people that might see this later and say, raise your hand if you've lived your entire life out of complete selflessness, who could raise their hand? I know I couldn't. I'm relatively sure Mother Teresa would have said she couldn't. And she's sort of the standard bearer for selflessness among Christian history. So, and that goes back to this
and that's what I'm
scripture reference that you had.
Yep, I'm gonna read.
And to give you context, this is when the rich young ruler comes up and asks Jesus, "What must I do to be saved?"
And the reason we're pointing back to the Bible, and we were trying to, you try to keep this out of the Bible, you just can't.
Yeah,
you got to have a measuring stick, and a religion is not a measuring stick. And in my opinion, there's only been one good person that ever walked the earth.
Yeah,
and this particular story was out of the Gospel of Mark. And as Nick was saying, it was from the rich young ruler. And I'm just going to read a couple of verses here. This is Mark 10, 17 and 18.
17, 18.
Okay. And this is out of the Amplified Bible. As he was leaving on his journey, a man ran up and knelt before him and asked him, "Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone."
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of wrapping this discussion up into a little ball, when we were trying to define goodness outside of a standard, which is what we were effectively trying to do with this discussion, it's impossible.
Yeah,
you can't say that hey, this is the standard of good from government, from surroundings, from society. I mean, you can if you want to, but we kind of made that definition of unless it's done in love, it's not good. Unless it's a selfless act. The only selfless person that I know in history is Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, his real name, his name, and as it was translated into our language, and I can't find any other standard by which we can go by. And of course, some people would say the 10 Commandments, but again, that's also out of the Bible as far as a standard of what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
So our original question was, humanity is at its core basically good, and of course we have our truth meter. And we numbered it. Now it's a 5-point scale, 5 being proven.
Yeah.
I'll get it one of these days.
Yeah.
4 being probable, 3 being
possible.
No. 4 is possible. 3 is probable.
Yeah.
2 is probable deniability.
No, plausible.
Plausible deniability.
We are all over the place here today. It's proven, probable, plausible deniability, and preposterous.
Yes, that's our 5-point.
We don't have the scale up where we can see it. So
we're trying to we call it from memory, but we do it terribly each time.
Yeah, but it's entertaining for them.
But Nick, why don't you go ahead and give your?
So I think it's impossible for people for us I think individual people can make a good run at trying to be good, but I think and I don't even know that you would say they are good. They're better than some, maybe even better than most. But I think humanity has shown that at its core, we are not good people. We tend to care more about our own than we do other people. We tend to care more about what we want than maybe what's best for everybody else. And we don't have an internal standard for what is good. And I think that's the most problematic part, is that we don't have a way to measure what good is. And when you look at the Bible, the standard of good is perfection. It's not 80% of perfection. It's not 95% of perfection. To be good is to be perfect. Jesus said it. There is none good but God. So I think we need to disavow ourselves of the illusion that humanity is actually good and is getting better. I don't think that's happening.
So you're in
at least not
in preposterous ranges.
I think
it's absolutely preposterous. Well, to move that conversation just a little bit further, I also believe it's preposterous.
Yeah,
there is no good. I mean, you look at little babies. Babies are selfish. I mean, before they even grow up, and they say, "Oh, it's a good kid." No, he's not a good kid. He's he wants to get his way. Yeah, and
you don't have to teach a child to be selfish.
Correct. You don't have to teach a child to be selfish.
Them to be good.
We have a sinful nature, and of course, there's probably going to be if people ever watch this episode, we'll probably get a lot of kickback because I think intrinsically people would feel guilty if they're like, no, I'm a good person. I do all the right things.
Yeah.
By whose standard? And I think that's one thing that we really have to focus in on right here is like, what's your standard? If you don't have a unified standard, how can you measure good? And if you're a Bible believing Christians like we are, there's no way to be good. Yeah. Because that's just how we are. So we're going to finish up this episode. And as we finish every one of our episodes, make sure if you like this video, hit like and subscribe and look at our other sister programs on Agape TV.